Have you ever felt like you're carrying an invisible weight that no one can see? Like there's a constant silent pain that consumes your life force with every social interaction? Social anxiety isn't just nervousness. It is an experience of deep suffering that remains hidden, misunderstood, and minimized by those who have never lived this internal reality. While the world sees only someone who is quiet, shy, or reserved, a devastating psychological battle is raging inside. Carl Jung, the pioneer of depth psychology, revealed that our most intense symptoms are born from the rejected parts of ourselves. Social anxiety is the voice of the unintegrated shadow, of emotional wounds that were never seen, validated, or healed. There is an abysmal difference between what others perceive and what really happens in the mind of someone living with social anxiety. It's like inhabiting two worlds simultaneously. The external world, where you have to function and appear normal, and the internal world, where an emotional storm never ceases. People say, "Just relax, it's only talking." Everyone gets nervous sometimes. You're overreacting. They don't know that these words are like salt in an open wound. They don't understand that social anxiety isn't a choice. It's not just being dramatic. It's not something you can solve with willpower. The truth is, those who live with this condition develop an extreme psychic sensitivity. You pick up on micro-expressions, tones of voice, and uncomfortable silences with an almost painful precision. Your mind becomes a hypersensitive radar that processes every detail of social interaction as a matter of emotional survival. You learn to read between lines that may not even exist. You interpret a glance as judgment. You turn a silence into rejection. You convert a neutral expression into disapproval. Your psyche functions like an alarm system that never rests, always on high alert, always prepared for the next emotional blow. And the cruelest part? You develop an exceptional social intelligence precisely to protect yourself. You become an expert at reading people, anticipating reactions, and avoiding conflict. But this very skill turns against you, creating catastrophic scenarios that exist only in your mind. Social anxiety is like living with a relentless inner critic who never stops talking. It's carrying the constant feeling of being inadequate, of not belonging, of always being evaluated and found wanting. It's feeling like a stranger in your own world, an actor who has forgotten their lines on the stage of life. But there is something Jung discovered about these hidden pains that completely changes how you can see them. Each of these painful experiences carries within it valuable information about rejected parts of your psyche. Every suffering is an invitation for integration. Every pain is a map to healing. Today, you will learn about the 9 deepest pains that inhabit the internal world of those living with social anxiety. Pains that are rarely spoken of, understood, or validated. Prepare for an encounter with truths you may have never seen named, but which you will instantly recognize as your own. Stop now and feel your body. As you read these words, what sensation inhabits your chest? There's a familiar tension there, isn't there? A tightness you know all too well, that accompanies you in every social situation, like a shadow that never leaves you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that feeling of always being watched, even when you're alone. It's the inner voice that whispers you're not interesting enough, that your words are silly, that your presence bothers others. How many times have you rehearsed a simple conversation dozens of times in your head? How many times have you canceled plans at the last minute because the weight of anxiety became unbearable? How many times have you lied and said you were sick when in reality you were just emotionally exhausted? Look at your message history. How many times have you typed and deleted the same sentence over and over before sending it? How many times have you analyzed every word of a response you received, looking for signs of irritation, disinterest, or rejection? How many times have you felt like you were bothering someone just by existing? And what about parties, events, social gatherings? For others, they are moments of fun and connection. For you, they are emotional minefields where every step must be calculated. You arrive already thinking about when you can leave. You stand against the wall, watching others interact with a naturalness that seems impossible for you. You have developed survival strategies that no one notices. You always arrive a little late, to avoid those first uncomfortable minutes. You go to the bathroom to get a few moments of respite. You constantly check your phone to look busy. You memorize safe questions to break awkward silences. But the most painful part, it's when you manage to let go for a few minutes, when the conversation flows, when you feel genuinely connected. In those rare moments of authenticity, you get a taste of what a life without internal prisons could be. But soon after comes the emotional hangover, the obsessive analysis of every word you said, the certainty that you did something wrong. You are your own detective and your own tormentor. You replay entire conversations, searching for evidence that you displeased someone. You interpret silences as disapproval. You transform polite smiles into signs that the person was pretending to like you. And when others say, "You're overthinking it," it's as if they are denying your internal reality. They don't understand that you don't choose to overthink, that your mind operates like a courtroom that never closes, where you are eternally the defendant and judge at the same time. The exhaustion you feel after social interactions isn't laziness. It's the weariness of someone who has spent hours on high alert, analyzing, interpreting, and protecting themselves from threats that may not even exist. It's like taking a difficult exam with every casual conversation. Do you recognize this pattern? It's because your psyche is operating with a dysregulated alarm system, where every social encounter is processed as a threat to your self-image. And today, you will understand not only why this happens, but how these pains you carry can become the very path to your liberation. Social anxiety is not a flaw in you. It is the symptom of a specific psychological dynamic that Jung called the projection of the shadow. Your mind has created a protection system based on the unconscious belief that parts of you are unacceptable, dangerous, or likely to be rejected. Imagine your psyche as a house where certain rooms have been locked and forgotten. In these forbidden rooms live aspects of your personality that were once rejected. Perhaps your spontaneity, your strong opinion, your need for attention, your anger, or simply your natural presence. When these parts are exiled, they don't disappear. They become the shadow. This rejected shadow begins to manifest through anxiety. Every time you approach a situation where you could express these banished parts of yourself, the internal alarm goes off. It's as if your psyche is saying, "Be careful. If you show who you really are, you will be rejected, humiliated, abandoned." The cruel paradox of social anxiety is that it stems from the fear of rejection, but it ends up creating the very thing it fears most. When you hide for fear of being rejected, you reject yourself first. When you silence your voice for fear of being criticized, you become your own harshest critic. The hidden pains you experience are like messengers from an unexplored territory of your psyche. Each suffering carries information about rejected aspects that are asking to be reintegrated. The anxiety before public speaking might be protecting your genuine need to be seen and heard. The fear of disagreeing might be guarding your authentic opinion. The shame of showing emotions might be hiding your natural sensitivity. Jung discovered that our most intense symptoms are always attempts by the psyche to communicate something vital about ourselves. Social anxiety is not your enemy. It is a clumsy guide trying to lead you back home, to your lost wholeness. The problem is that our culture treats symptoms as problems to be eliminated, not as messages to be deciphered. We take medication to silence the anxiety instead of listening to what it has to teach us. We avoid social situations instead of investigating what parts of ourselves we are rejecting. Every pain you feel in social situations is a golden opportunity to get to know hidden aspects of your personality. It is as if your psyche is constantly whispering, "There is something in you that needs to be integrated. something that was rejected and is asking to come back home. Healing doesn't happen by eliminating anxiety, but by understanding its symbolic language. It is not about forcing yourself to be sociable, but about discovering which authentic version of you is trying to emerge from behind the fear. The 9 pains you are about to discover are actually 9 gateways to rejected aspects of your psyche. Each one points to a part of you that was banished and now asks for integration. When you stop fighting against these pains and start investigating them with compassionate curiosity, they transform from obstacles into allies on the journey back to yourself. The first hidden pain is loneliness in a crowd. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely isolated, as if there were a transparent glass wall between you and the world. It is the pain of being physically present, but emotionally absent, of watching life happen around you while you remain on the outside, always on the outside. This loneliness is not about being alone. It is about feeling disconnected from your own life, like a spectator of others' existence. You watch conversations flow naturally and wonder what secret code other people know that you never learned. The second pain is the exhaustion from constant performance. You have become a professional actor in your own life, always playing an edited version of yourself. It is exhausting to maintain this social mask, to smile when you don't feel like it, to agree when you disagree, to seem interested when you are bored. It is the pain of never being able to simply exist without prior editing. Every social encounter requires you to constantly monitor your facial expression, the tone of your voice, your body posture. It's like driving while paying attention to the speedometer, the gas gauge, the rearview mirror, and the road all at the same time. Naturalness becomes impossible when every gesture is calculated. The third hidden pain is emotional hypervigilance. You have developed an extreme sensitivity to the moods and reactions of others, as if you carry a hypersensitive emotional radar. You pick up on micro-expressions of irritation, detect subtle changes in tone of voice, and interpret silences as signs of disapproval. It is the pain of constantly living in a state of emotional high alert. This hypervigilance is born from the need for emotional survival. You learned that anticipating rejection hurts less than being caught by surprise. But living like this is like living in a war zone where every casual conversation is a potential minefield. The fourth pain is the shame of your own sensitivity. You feel intensely, process deeply, and then feel ashamed of that intensity. It's as if your sensitive nature were a defect to be hidden, a weakness to be overcome. You envy people who seem to glide through life without being so affected by every interaction. Our culture treats sensitivity as fragility, but Jung knew that highly sensitive people are often the most connected to the deep aspects of the human experience. Your pain comes from trying to fit an oceanic nature into a world that only values shallow waters. The fifth hidden pain is the paralyzing fear of authenticity. Paradoxically, you are so afraid of being rejected for who you really are that you prefer to be accepted for who you are not. It is the pain of carrying your truth like a dangerous secret, of feeling that your genuine personality is something to be hidden, not celebrated. You fantasize about moments of courage where you could speak your truth, express your real opinion, show your personality without filters. But when those moments arrive, fear freezes your words. It's like having a beautiful song stuck in your throat that can never turn into sound. This fifth pain is perhaps the cruelest because it creates a vicious cycle. The more you hide who you really are, the more the certainty grows that your true nature is unacceptable. And the stronger that belief becomes, the more difficult the simple act of being yourself becomes. The sixth hidden pain is obsessive post-social analysis. After every interaction, your mind turns into a courtroom where you are simultaneously prosecutor, defendant, and judge. You relive every word spoken, every pause, every reaction. It is the pain of never being able to simply live a social moment without later dissecting it for evidence of failure. This analysis is not optional. It is compulsive, like a mental itch that demands to be scratched. You reconstruct entire conversations looking for signs that you said something wrong, that you bothered someone, that you were misunderstood. It is living every interaction twice, once in reality and again in the courtroom of your mind. The seventh pain is the guilt over your social limitations. You feel responsible for not being able to be spontaneous, for needing time to warm up in groups, for feeling exhausted after social events. It's as if having social anxiety were a selfish choice, a luxury you shouldn't allow yourself. This guilt is fueled by a culture that romanticizes extroversion and treats introversion as something to be overcome. You constantly apologize for your nature, as if your way of processing the world were an inconvenience to others. It is the pain of feeling defective for functioning differently. The eighth hidden pain is the fear of emotional intimacy. Paradoxically, you desire deep connection, but are terrified of being truly known. It is easier to keep relationships on the surface than to risk showing your vulnerabilities. It is the pain of thirsting for crystal clear water, but only being able to drink from shallow puddles. Emotional intimacy requires you to let down your guard, to allow yourself to be seen in your entirety. But your mind interprets vulnerability as danger. So you keep everyone at a safe distance, creating a loneliness even deeper than physical loneliness. The ninth and most devastating pain is the feeling of wasting your life. You know you have important things to say, valuable contributions to make, genuine love to offer. But social anxiety functions like a prison that prevents your essence from manifesting in the world. It is the cruelest pain because it is accompanied by an acute awareness of your unfulfilled potential. You see who you could be if fear did not govern your choices. It's like watching your own life through glass, knowing that on the other side there is a version of you that is freer, more authentic, more alive. This pain carries a special urgency because every day that passes is one less day to express who you really are. It is the pain of feeling time slip through your fingers while you remain paralyzed by the need for others' approval. But here is what Jung discovered that changes everything. Each of these pains is actually a map. They do not exist to torture you. They exist to guide you back home, to aspects of your personality that were rejected and now ask for integration. Loneliness points to your need for authentic connection. The exhaustion from performance reveals your desire for naturalness. Hypervigilance hides your sensitivity as a gift. Shame protects your depth. The fear of authenticity guards your most precious truth. Obsessive analysis seeks perfection because you are worth that perfection. Guilt covers your unique nature. The fear of intimacy protects your sensitive heart. And the feeling of waste is your soul asking to be lived fully. Now that you recognize these 9 pains as messengers and not as enemies, how do you begin the process of integration? The first step is to develop what Jung called the observer function. The ability to watch your internal patterns without completely identifying with them. When you feel the first pain, loneliness in a crowd, don't try to eliminate it. Instead, ask, what part of me is asking for authentic connection right now? Observe how your psyche uses loneliness to inform you that you are operating from a false version of yourself. The cure is not in forcing yourself to be sociable, but in discovering which genuine aspect of you wants to emerge. For the second pain, the exhaustion from performance, practice microscopic moments of authenticity. Start small. Express a real preference about something insignificant. Say, actually, I prefer coffee when offered tea, if it's true. Every small act of honesty is training for bigger moments of courage. When emotional hypervigilance activates, recognize it as evidence of your deep sensitivity. Instead of being ashamed of this ability, ask, what is my sensitivity picking up on that others might be missing? Your hypervigilance is a refined emotional radar. The problem is not having this ability, it's using it against yourself. To transform the shame of your own sensitivity, start seeing it as a misunderstood superpower. Highly sensitive people are the poets, artists, therapists, and most compassionate leaders in the world. Your emotional depth is not a defect to be corrected. It is a talent to be honored. When the fear of authenticity arises, practice what Jung called gradual courage. Don't try to reveal yourself completely at once. Choose one safe person and share a small truth about yourself. It could be an opinion, a feeling, or simply a genuine preference. Every act of authenticity strengthens your courage muscle. To stop obsessive post-social analysis, develop a closing ritual. After social interactions, allow yourself 5 minutes to process what happened, then mentally declare, "This conversation is complete. I allow myself to move on." Create a physical gesture, like washing your hands or taking 3 deep breaths, to mark the end of the analysis. The guilt over your social limitations needs to be replaced with radical compassion. Talk to yourself as you would to a frightened child. Your limitations are not moral failings. They are protection strategies that were once necessary. Thank these parts of you for trying to protect you, and gently inform them that you can now take care of yourself in other ways. For the fear of emotional intimacy, practice gradual vulnerability. Start by sharing small truths about your feelings. "I'm feeling a little anxious today" is a courageous start. Intimacy is not a door that is either wide open or completely closed. It's a dimmer switch that can be adjusted gradually. The deepest pain, the feeling of wasting your life, requires a radical shift in perspective. Every day you live consciously, observing your patterns and choosing more authentic responses, is a day of a full life. You are not wasting time by healing. You are investing in the person you can become. Shadow work for social anxiety isn't about eliminating fear. It's about integrating the rejected parts that fear protects. Each hidden pain is a doorway to an aspect of your personality that was exiled and now asks to come back home. You are no longer who you were when you started reading this text. Something has changed in your perception. Something has reorganized in your understanding of your own experience. You now have names for pains that were once just confusing sensations. You have maps for internal territories that once seemed chaotic and meaningless. These 9 pains that inhabit the world of social anxiety are not your flaws. They are fragments of a complete personality that was dismantled by fear and can now be rebuilt with awareness. Each pain carries within it the seed of the quality you most need to integrate. Your loneliness in a crowd is your individuality asking to be honored. Your exhaustion from performance is your authenticity asking to emerge. Your hypervigilance is your sensitivity asking to be valued. Your shame is your depth asking to be accepted. Your fear of authenticity is your truth asking for courage. Your obsessive analysis is your precious mind asking for constructive direction. Your guilt is your self-compassion asking to be awakened. Your fear of intimacy is your heart asking for safety to open up. And your feeling of waste is your soul asking to be lived fully. Now, you are the conscious observer of these internal dynamics. You are no longer an unconscious victim of your patterns. You are the active integrator of your wholeness. When social anxiety arises, you have tools to decode its message instead of just suffering from its presence. Jung knew that the journey of individuation is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming who you always were before fear decided to edit your personality. It's about gathering the scattered fragments of your essence and creating a new internal harmony. You carry within you a version of yourself that was never hurt, never rejected, never learned to fear its own presence. This version does not need to be created. It needs to be remembered, unearthed, and integrated back into your conscious experience. The path is not to eliminate social anxiety, but to understand its symbolic language. It is not to force yourself to be extroverted, but to discover your authentic way of connecting. It is not to win external approval, but to develop internal acceptance. Every time you choose curiosity over judgment about your internal patterns, you are doing shadow work. Every time you respond with compassion to your limitations, you are integrating rejected aspects. Every small act of authenticity is a silent revolution against years of conditioning. You are not cured, you are awakened. You are not fearless, you are conscious of fear. You are not socially perfect, you are genuinely human, and that is infinitely more valuable than any performance could ever be. Comment which of the 9 pains touched your soul the most, like if you felt the courage to look at your wounds without judgment. Subscribe to continue this journey of integration and self-compassion. Social anxiety is not your destiny, it's your teacher in disguise. And now you know the language it speaks. Allow yourself to be exactly who you are, with all your pains, all your sensitivities, all your unique depth. The world needs your authentic presence, not your perfect performance. The journey back home is just beginning.